morning, it says, pay attention. Pay attention. So if you were paying attention, I pray for you. You pray for me. That means I care for you. You care for me. We support each other. And we give it back and forth. I need you, just like you need me. And I need you to survive. Pay attention to the words. Don't get caught up in the whole song. Pay attention to the words. I need you. I love you. I pray for you. I need you to survive. We're going to talk just about that, paying attention, okay? And when we pay attention, one thing that we really learn and we realize is that we need each other to survive, right? So, some of you guys don't know me, and then some of you do, and some of you are probably wondering, how did I get to be up here to be the one speaking to you today, right? Well, some of you guys I know, you know I've been around here for a while, so you know me, but I'm going to give the rest of you, I'm going to give you the backstory, okay, about how stuff works around here, because, sometimes you just don't really know, okay? Well, this month, the theme is discipline, right? So we're talking about how you can use discipline to get bliss into your life. And the way that we do it is by spiritual mind practice, okay? And we have specific spiritual mind practices that we teach and we use around here. And if you were here the first Sunday of the month, Petra was here, and Reverend Petra spoke. Did a good job. And if you were here the second Sunday, then you heard Reverend Karen speak, right? Well, we've got 4 reverends here, so we've got Reverend Vince and we've got Reverend Patty too. And if you don't know the back scenes around here, you may not know that if you're like needing comfort and care, well, that's what Reverend Vince is doing. He's taking care of the sick and shut-in and those kind of folks. And Reverend Patty, well, she's the one who puts all this stuff together. You guys don't know it, but she's the one that makes sure that all this other stuff is working. So then they had to get down to the practitioners, right? So last Sunday, we had one of the greatest practitioners of all time speaking, right? We had Tracy Brown speak, right? Well, now we've got other practitioners that went off and got married, like Christine and Sherry, and now they're on honeymoons, they're all gone, and now you guys are just stuck with me. And it's really an example of how we actually practice what we preach around here, because we talked about how we transform lives and how we talk about diversity, right? So this afternoon, you don't get a blonde chick, okay? Matter of fact, you don't get a female at all up here. You got a black male and a black heterosexual male up in here. I'm just telling you like it is. So you're going to hear the world according to Michael this time, and that might be a little bit different than what you hear, okay? And I'll tell you in advance, if Willie can't keep up, it's because, us black guys, we run kind of fast sometimes, and she may not be able to keep up with that. So don't hold it against her, okay? But you'll get the world according to Michael, okay? Now, you also need to know that Reverend Karen and Reverend Petra, they're not going to just let me have you, okay? They're going to make sure I've got certain parameters to stay within, okay? So they came up with the title about pay attention, okay? And I didn't know what they really meant. Is it like pay attention to each other, pay attention like money, but pay attention, okay? And then they said it's going to be mindfulness, sacred giving, and sacred service, okay? And Michael, now, within those parameters, you go and make it happen, do something with that. So that's where we're at, okay? So I'm going to talk to you about mindfulness, sacred giving, and sacred service. And I'm going to do it in Michael's way, okay? So when we talk about mindfulness, okay, what we're talking about is being focused, okay? Giving something your attention. Like realizing that right here, right now, you're sitting in that chair. You're at this particular building. You don't have to worry about a thing. Nobody's going to come in and bother you because we've got greeters on the door. And you just have to focus on this moment, not what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen later, just right now. See, when we're mindful, when we focus, we get a chance to see the world a lot differently. There's a form of meditation that people talk about that's called mindful meditation. That's when you watch your thoughts, okay? If you guys are like me, I'm always thinking. You know, those thoughts just keep going and going and going and going and going. And I'm aware of the fact that what happens on my conscious level, it slips down into my subconscious. So sometimes I need to slow down and stop and see what those thoughts are. And that's that kind of meditation, so you can see those exact thoughts. Around here, we know that cause and effect, that's the major law around here that we always talk about, right? Well, if I believe that my thinking makes a difference, and I believe in the science of mind, I need to stop it sometimes and see, what am I thinking? What are my thoughts? And how are my thoughts creating my world? That's being mindful, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you guys a secret. Like I said, you get the blackmail version this time. And for me, when I was a kid, I really had a problem when what my coach said didn't match with what my teacher said and didn't match with what my preacher said. I needed all that stuff to combine. And when I see all that stuff come together and combine, for me, that's like a truth, okay? So like mindfulness, that's one that works for me, because I know if I'm focused, then that's how it works for me if I'm in sports or arts or anything else, okay? The idea of being focused makes a difference. You guys know he's not even in the room, and I'm going to talk about him because he's not in the room. You guys know our drummer, Matt? Matt is a Grammy-winning drummer, okay? But that's because he focuses on the drums. He doesn't try to play the bass. He doesn't try to play a trumpet. He doesn't try to sing. He just plays the drums. And when you focus on what's yours to give, your skill, that gets you bliss. That puts you in that space. That's when you get into that zone, when you're focused. And to me, it works in all those areas. It would work if I was in school, because they say that things I focus on, and if I really study hard, I'll get better. It really does make a difference when we are mindful, when we put our mind to something. And when we focus, that makes a difference. And one of the things that I think that we should focus on and be mindful about is service. Sacred service. Just giving to each other. You know? I've got a trick that I've learned, and I don't share this stuff with too many people, okay? So I'm going to just share this with you guys, and you don't have to go tell everybody, okay? But for me, this whole thing about service and giving and all that stuff, it's a mental thing. And I believe in the power of the mind and the power of thought, so I've learned how to, like, psych myself out or play games with myself or produce habits that are going to get me what I want. You know, like you brush your teeth every day because you want to have good dental, so that becomes a habit. So things that you want to do and be consistent about, you make it a habit. And I try to do that with service and with giving. I just try to just give and not look for a reason or look for a payment, just give. Because it's sort of like, now I'm not going to get into your politics, but I don't like guns, okay? That's just me. I don't like guns. And I don't carry guns, and I don't have guns in my house, okay? I've always believed that people who have guns are more likely to get shot because they got a gun. And they're more likely to lose their temper or whatever, they react, all that kind of stuff, because they got a gun. So I just don't have one. Now, I don't go out and tell people that. Okay? That's just between us, okay? It's the same thing about service and doing good. I really do believe that good stuff happens to me just because I do good stuff to other people. I try to live like that. And I try to psych myself up, make it a habit of doing good things, because good things will happen right back to me. And I've learned from every walk of life, everything that I've done, that it makes a difference. And service makes a difference. Any of y'all like to party? I know some of y'all over here like to party. I see some party animals over there. When I was younger, okay, when I lived back in St. Louis, I used to have a birthday party. That was the birthday party of all birthday parties. Everybody wanted to come to my birthday party, okay? And we would have a theme for the party, okay? And one year, the theme was service. Uh-oh. See, if you're at houses like my house, everybody comes to the kitchen, right? No matter what room you want them to go, they all congregate in the darn kitchen, right? So we said, anybody in the kitchen is going to have to serve. So everybody, get out of the kitchen. And everybody didn't leave. Some of them stayed. So those that stayed, we filled up styrofoam cups of soup and chili and put it on a tray and sent them out to serve the people at the party. And you know what happened? The people that were being served, oh, they loved it. But the people doing the serving, they rushed right back to get some more because they found out how good it feels to serve. And see, we all know that if it feels good, We'll do it again and again and again and again. You just have to get yourself into that place where you find out that it feels good. And when you find out it feels good to serve, you know what you'll do? You'll serve, and you'll serve, and you'll serve. That's what it is. Now, I did the same thing in the first service. I'm about to do in this second service, okay? I got these slides, and these slides ain't like really for me. They for y'all. Because y'all CSL folks, y'all into slides. So, you know, these are the slides, okay? I ain't into the slides, but so you see we're going to talk about mindfulness, sacred service, sacred giving. That's a slide, okay? And then, you know, we just get past that slide stuff. There it is again. And see, there's certain things that we can provide service that we can give, service or products and information, okay? But that's the slide stuff. So let me just get to the slide. This is where I want to be, okay? Because you guys know about this. This is about service, okay? The difference between heaven and hell, okay? Now, both have banquet tables full of food and all, but the difference is in hell, they're not helping each other, not serving each other. They have the long spoons and they can't feed themselves. In heaven, they've learned to share. See the difference?
Right, got it.
Heaven, hell, it's a state of mind. It's how you serve. You know, now, we're going to get real past these slides real quick, okay? We're about done with slides. So, balloons. If I could have a workshop with you guys, or if I had more time with you guys, I would love to show you this. So instead, I'm going to use your imagination, okay? So imagine I've given each of you a balloon, okay? All of you guys have a balloon, and you blow up that balloon, and then I ask you to write your name on that balloon, okay? Now I'm going to take all those balloons, and I'm going to throw all those balloons in one room. And now I'm going to call on you, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes to go find your balloon. You think you can do it in 5 minutes? It might take a little while. But what if we try another way? What if I had you go in that room and pick up a balloon and look at the name on it, and whoever's name was on it, you hollered out and you found that person and gave them their balloon? That way we could do it easily, just like that, right? Because we're serving each other. We're helping each other. When you serve, when you help each other, that's the trick, folks. That's how it works. It works by serving. Got it? Yeah, so you want to serve, you want to give to folks, okay? And when it gets to sacred giving, that, you know, you've heard this saying, you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse, right? You won't. You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. And I will tell you that everything you have, okay, will one day be given. Everything. Choice is whether you give it away or your inheritors give it away. But everything you have will be given. And it's still a state of mind about how much you have. You know, some people can have a little bit, some people can have a lot. Did you guys see that thing on the news the other day? Ben Carson got himself into one of them. Oh, my goodness. Ooh. See, being a motivational speaker, you know what to say and what not to say in certain crowds. He tried to say something about poverty being a state of mind, and he just went off. You don't say that in a political setting. What you understand and tell people is, look, you know, there's a range of things. Some people have a little bit, some people have a lot. There's always somebody who has more than you, always somebody who has less than you. When I didn't have anything, I didn't know that I was poor until other people told me. Without TV, I would not have it. It is a state of mind. But I ain't running for no political office, so I can get away with that stuff. But don't you guys try to say that stuff, okay? You gotta watch. But you can serve and you can give. I'm about the giving, okay? Being generous, giving to other people for no other reason than just because. My favorite analogy is a flower. A flower gives fragrance just because. Just because. And to any and everybody, not just the deserving, not just the good folks, but everybody, just because. And even as you crush that flower with the heel of your foot, it will still leave its fragrance on you just because. That's the kind of giver I want to be. I want to give just like that. So I've got this thing. And we're going to do one more slide just because we got to get through these slides, okay? But this is the last slide. I found this thing, okay? Manna bags, okay? Now, I thought that I was the only one doing this thing. And then I went out online and I found out that there's whole societies of people doing it. They'll tell you how to do it and everything else. But I want to make sure that you guys get it, okay? So what this is a manna bag, okay? And for Remember I told you I believe in that science of mind thing, so I have to trick myself sometimes with my mind? Well, when people are out there panhandling or they want something, I'm just like anybody else. I'm thinking, I ain't going to give you no money. You got better shoes on than me, all kinds of stuff. Or you're going to go buy some drugs or whatever. Well, I don't want to think like that. What they do with what I give, that's on them. It's not on me. I just want to give. And what I found was I can give these bags, okay? So every 2 or 3 months, I take maybe $50 at best, okay? I go to the dollar store, I go to Costco's, I go to Sam's, and I buy stuff in bulk. Crackers, candy bars, applesauce, juice, water, little bitty things, okay? I get a half-gallon bag, stuff about 20 or 30 of them, and I put it in a big box that I leave right by the garage door. So whenever I go to the car, I always have 1 or 2 in the car that I can put out. So whenever I run up on somebody, that needs something, then I've got something to give them. Now, isn't that a good idea, you think? I don't have to worry about how they use it or feel guilty or none of that crazy stuff, And if they truly are hungry, well, they got a meal up in here, Now, what's even more powerful? Because this stuff is contagious. When I do it, the cars that drive up behind me that see me give out the bag, you should see their reaction. All of a sudden, other windows start coming down, and other people start giving because it's contagious. Hey, that's why I hang out with you guys. You guys are cool people, and I like to be with cool people. It's contagious. I ain't going to hang out with no bad folks have that stuff rub off on me. And I'm hoping that some of this will rub off on you. You don't have to do big things to make peace in the world or to make the world a nicer place. It's what you do in your own little small world. And the one thing I do in my small world is I make it better just by handing out a small bag. Okay? That's all. And my world is better. Now, if this was Oprah or Wendy or one of those TV shows, they'd show you this and you know what they'd say? And you get to take one of these home too. Well, that's true here also. We've got boxes at all 3 entrances, and there's one of these for you to take too, okay? Now, my hope is that one, if you're hungry, you'll have a meal. But other than that, you'll share it with somebody that you see that's in need. And they'll learn from your example. Or maybe you'll decide that the kids at your school or your children or somebody else can have a project. Or once a month, you can do the same thing. It doesn't have to be a bag this big. It can be anything. The idea simply is that we give and that we share. I've got one little thing I got to read to you guys because it's a scripture, and I'm not good at memorizing them scriptures, okay? But it says in 1 Corinthians, I know it's not 1 Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 13 and 2, okay? It says, and though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I would remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. You get that? You can have all of that, but if you're not willing to share, willing to give to others, if you don't have charity, then you are the same as nothing. Got it? Amen. Nobody wants to be a nothing around here, okay? We all want to be something. And around here, you guys know me, but you may not know all of me, and I want to share one story with you so that you know me just a little bit better, okay? And it's a story that I think really applies to being mindful and being focused on what we want to do and providing service and giving to other people. But I also want you to know that I did my homework, and I've told this story at CSL before, 5 years ago. But I talked to Tracy Brown, and we both agreed that 75% of y'all weren't here when I said it anyway. And I figured that I would be honest enough and authentic enough and tell you that, so it didn't matter. I just think it's a cool story, and I'm going to tell it to you anyway. So if you heard it before, then just say, yeah, I remember that piece. But it's about how I got into CSL, because I know I've been around this stuff for a long time. But it started because I was a reader. I love books. I mean, I devour books. I always have been a reader. I've been reading since I was 3 years old. I can never get enough. My number one thing to do was to have a bookstore. So whenever I would travel on my job or anywhere, the first place I would go was to the local bookstore. I would go check out every bookstore in the area. I love books, and I love to read. And because of that, I was in St. Louis one time, and I went to a bookstore, and it was a sacred, spiritual kind of bookstore, whatever. But the bookstore was cool, a little bitty place, but the area that it was, the grounds were just peaceful, just something about the place. And the sanctuary of the CSL in St. Louis was right next to it. So the following Sunday, I decided, well, I'm going to go back and see what this is like, because if the bookstore is this cool, and if the grounds are this cool, I mean, what's going on here on Sunday morning? I got to check it out. So I went back on a Sunday, and I did just like all of us do when we're visiting for the first time. I was sat on the back row and all, and I slowly, after a while, worked my way up. And nobody was in the church that looked like me. I was the only black person in the church, but that didn't have anything to do with it. They were talking my stuff. It was cool with me. See, for me, I had started with reading, and reading got me into black history, and black history got me into African history, and African history got me into African religion, and that got me into African philosophy, and all kinds of things that had happened more than 2,000 years ago. Long before Jesus got here, I was reading about stuff, and it was like mystery systems and more knowledge, more information. That's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know all of that. And when I got to CSL, and they were talking about science of mind, and they were talking about Socrates, and Plato and Young and all kinds of people, I said, hey, this is my kind of place, And I didn't care who looked like me up in there. I was going to be there, okay? And I had a great time, because these were some cool white folks, just so y'all know, okay? But they, they kept telling me about another church in the city, okay? They were telling me about this black church in the city. And pause in between story. Point on service, we can all serve each other in all kinds of ways, in any kind of small way, just by providing a kind word, okay? And Janet provided me a nice service. She said, Michael, wipe that sweat off and do it theatrically. So that's for Jan. Thank you, Jan. Back to the story. So they kept telling me about a black CSL that was down in the city. So I was trying to go find this place. And for months and months, I couldn't find it. So one day, I was at a workshop, a Jack Canfield workshop. You heard of Jack Canfield? Yeah. Chicken Soup of the Soul, that guy? Well, I was at his workshop, and there was this old African-American, black lady was there, okay? Now, she was dressed in, like, African garb, and she had a little thing on her head and everything, and gray hair sticking out, and little gray whiskers, and she had a big old staff, and, looked like Moses to me, And I ran up to her, and I said, hey, I've been dying to meet you. I've been hearing about your church. And she said, oh, well, come on down. We get together at 12 o'clock on Sunday. And if you know me, I go to the early services, so that meant I could go to my own church, and then I could go shoot downtown and go to theirs. And that's just what I did. I shot down to the city, and anybody who's familiar with St. Louis, it was down in what they'd call the hood, down around Delmar, Union, Delmar, Kings Highway, that area, okay? And when I got there, it's like real crowded streets, so, cars double parked everywhere, so you can't tell what's a church or how many people are at the church or what's going on really, okay? And so I walked in the church, and there was nobody there. I mean, nobody was in the church. There was a guy way back in the back playing a little sour music on the organ, okay? But other than that, nobody was there. So, I'm cool with church, but I didn't see a reason to be there by myself if nobody was there. So I tried to, sneak my way out and get on out of the church. And I had to go past her study to get out the door. And there she was. She had her head down, and she was just writing and studying. And she looked up, oh, good morning, good morning. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I must be late. I'll come back next. Oh, no, you're not late. You're right on time. We're about to have service now. And I was too ashamed. I didn't want to tell her nobody was inside the church. So now I'm kind of stuck. So I'll go back into the sanctuary, and I don't sit on the front row, but I sit back on the second row, by where you guys are. And I sit there waiting for them to come in so we can have church. And after a little while, the guy playing the organ in the back, he moves up to the front to play the piano, and this lady comes in with a teenager who turned out to be her nephew, and they come in. And the teenager is like the usher for the day, and she sits up in the pulpit. And they begin to have church. You hear me? I mean, we sat down at the right time. We stood up at the right time. We sang. We prayed. They passed around the collection plate for my little measly $5. And then she preached. And she preached well. We had church. You hear me? That lady was focused. She had a service to provide. She had some information to share. She had something that she meant to do in her life, okay? That was her thing. And she was prepared. It didn't matter if anybody didn't show up. Now, wouldn't it be fantastic if all of us went about our jobs, our lives, the way we served in that kind of manner, that it didn't matter who was there? How do you act when nobody's watching? Right. You know, she was there. She was getting prepared. Like thousands of folks were going to show up, and it was just me. And she talked about, you know, how difficult it is to have a church when nobody shows up. And you still got to pay the light bills, and you still got to pay, you know, the phone bills, and all that still goes on. But she was still committed. That's a sense of service to me. Yes, that's a way of giving to me. And that lady didn't know who I was. Didn't have a clue. She didn't know that I worked for the phone company, and that next Monday I went back to work and I had access to her billing records and found out that she owed $400 and some odd on her phone bill, and I paid it. Yeah. Now, I never saw her again, and I never went to the church again. But she knows, just like I know you know, that God, whatever you conceive it to be, works through people, works through us. It's by us sharing, by us giving. It doesn't matter about what the other folks are doing. It's what are we doing? What are you doing? That's the difference. How do you see the world? That's the difference. I heard a quote by Mr. Rogers. You guys know Mr. Rogers? In the neighborhood, that guy. Mr. Rogers was saying he was a nice kid, not just a nice old man. And when he was growing up, he was watching the news, and he hated seeing the news because it was all so negative and stuff. And his mom told him to look for the helpers. Look for the helpers. Now, I'm a news junkie, and for me, that's a powerful way to look at the news. Look for the helpers. In Manchester, one guy, but millions of helpers. Millions of helpers. It's how you look at the world. At any given point in time on this planet, there are 150 million people at war. At any given point in time, any day, any time. But 150 million people out of 8 billion people. You got that? 8 billion people. So how do we choose to look at it? And more times than not, we're fed all that negativity. Okay? I tell you, I'm a news junkie. I record all the stuff. They tell the same stuff on ABC, CBS, NBC, the same stories. Somebody picked out the same negative crap to share with you. They don't show you, except on Friday, the last story about how people do good stuff, okay? But there's a lot more good that's happening out there in the world. There's a lot more people giving service. Look around where we're at. You can see the service that we provide here right at CSL because we gave more than 2,000 volunteer hours just for our building expansion. That's the kind of people that we are. That's why I hang out with you. It's contagious. Right? Got it? Yeah. It's contagious. And just like that lady who was there, regardless of what anybody else was doing. That's how we do. So I invite you to take your bag, and maybe you can make a difference. Maybe you can be the catalyst to a new thing, a new way of people looking at things, or a new way of people treating each other. It could be you. You know, it could be you that decides that you're going to donate the money so that our YFM groups can provide those kind of bags for everybody. It could be you. It could be you that makes the difference, that decides how to serve, how to give, and also give your money too, okay? Give your money. It'll come back to you. You don't want to hoard that stuff. The reason it's called money is a medium of exchange, okay? You provide your skills and your talents. We give you money so that you can pay for my skills and my talents. That's how the world works. In the profit world or the nonprofit world, that's all we're doing is sharing each other's talents and gifts. So give your gifts, give your talents, give them right back here, okay? And give me a moment so that we can say some prayer. So with closed eyes and bowed heads, we concentrate on this very moment, right here, right now. We are mindful for where we are and what's going on in our lives, right here and right now. So blessed to have the breath of life flowing through our veins. So blessed to have each other. so blessed to live in this world that we can choose to see as good, not bad. I believe that it's a good place. It's a good world. Depends on how we look at it. And if we change the way we look at things, the things that we look at will change. And we can change the things, and we can provide service to each other, being mindful of just what we can do, how we can change our own little small space. We don't have to change the world. We just need to change ourselves, change the way we see things. Be mindful with our sacred service and our sacred giving. We are so glad for this day. We are glad for this place, glad for each other. Right now, even before it happens, we say thank you for all the good that will come our way. We are so grateful, so grateful. And as we leave here, we know that we will go out into the world and we'll hold on to today's inspirations. We'll use today's information and we'll make a difference in the world. We'll do our thing. We will pay attention to other people, pay attention to their needs, their gifts. We will just pay attention and we will feel the bliss. And if you agree with me that our world can be just like that, full of bliss, full of love exchanged with each other, then I invite you to not just say it, but feel it and know it as we say together. And so it is.